Forever Slim. Welcome back to my channel, and if today is your first time tuning in, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. In today's video, I'm going to do mental health part 2. Stay tuned. So if you watched mental health part 1, which will be linked somewhere here on the screen, you know that I did a survey on social media, Instagram and Twitter, and I asked people about their experience with mental health, whether they were dealing with anxiety, depression, or both. And those results were included in mental health part 1. So for mental health part 2, I did another survey, and I just put that out to people in the community and also on Instagram and Twitter as well. If you want to be part of these surveys, follow me on social media. I'll have that information for you somewhere on the screen so that you can follow me on all platforms. Now, if you haven't already, go ahead and press the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on all of the videos that are coming up next, and turn on those post notifications so that you never miss a beat. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. So as I mentioned just a little bit ago, I did a survey on Instagram and Twitter and within my local community. And I asked people specifically, what do you want to hear in mental health part 2? The number one topic that I received was mental health in the Black and African American communities. So I did a little bit of research because I wanted to see what information was out there specific to the Black community. This is what I found. That according to the Anxiety and Depression Association, African Americans are 20% more likely to experience mental health challenges. Additionally, African American children who are exposed to violence are at a 25% greater risk of PTSD. Now, if you don't know what PTSD is, that stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Commonly we hear about that within our military service members, but it's not often that people really take the time to understand what exactly PTSD is. Now, I am not a mental health provider, and I am not a counselor or anything of the sort, so I will not go into further detail about post-traumatic stress disorder, but I will say that if you are curious, to please reach out to your fellow mental health care providers or mental health workers, or even do some research on your own and see what exactly that means and how that could potentially impact you. In part 1, I gave some information on how to access the DSM-5, which is the diagnostic manual that mental health providers use to help diagnose individuals who they may see. If you want to, go ahead and flip back over to part 1 and get that information. If you Google it, you'll find out where you can purchase the DSM-5 in your local community. So after I read the information from the Anxiety and Depression Association, and I kind of looked over the results and the feedback that I was getting from Instagram and Twitter, I said, you know what, let's go ahead and do it. And I threw my survey out there and I asked people if they have had any experience or if they personally have experienced stigma attached to mental health. And it was a very simple survey. I surveyed on Instagram, Twitter, and then throughout my local community, and the results honestly surprised me. I also asked people to share their stories if they were willing to. I am not going to share the stories of the individuals that did share with me because I don't want to open them up to any sorts of trauma or just negative feedback in general, but I was honestly surprised at the information that I received. In general, I was just surprised. So I was very careful within my survey to make sure that I not only surveyed people from one area, but I surveyed people that live in Northwest Arkansas, that have lived other places, that have traveled, that have been overseas, people that I know, people that I don't know, people from all age groups. Just people from all different walks of life, because every single person has a different experience. No matter if you like the same type of music or you can relate to this person in one way or another, every single person on this earth has a different experience, and I believe that every person needs their experience to be validated so that they feel understood. And even if you don't understand that person, it's nice to just be that voice or even a listening ear. It's just nice to have that so that you feel heard. I'm a firm believer that you have got to meet people where they are, no matter the situation. If you can't meet somebody where they are and relate to them on one way or another, then what good are you really doing? Think about it. So the results of my survey Only 0.26% report no stigma relating to mental health. And that's zero stigma, meaning that they have never heard anyone say something negative about a person that is experiencing a mental health challenge, nor have they said something negative about a person that is going through that. And then some of that was just people that really were unfamiliar with what mental health is and what good mental health looks like. So it was a lot more of not having the knowledge base and then just not having the experience. Only 0.26% of people reported no stigma whatsoever related to mental health. For me, that was very shocking because so many people participated in this survey. Only 0.26% had no experience. That's kind of unfounded. Like, we got to do a little bit better so that we can remove some of those stigmas and help people to find a way to reach out and help people to feel that it is okay to say, hey, I need some help. So for this survey, I allowed a 1-week time frame for people to participate in the survey, to ask questions, and also to submit the topics that they wanted me to discuss. And out of that 1 week, the most reoccurring topic was coping mechanisms. And that topic appeared in different ways, such as how do you deal with events in your life? How do you handle stress? Or what are some ways to cope? And then, quite frankly, just the title of coping mechanisms was also given as a topic to address. So with coping mechanisms, there are many different things that you can do, but the first thing I want to explain to you guys, I'm going to give the definition of coping mechanism so that we all understand what exactly it means when I use that term. And I wrote it down on my note card because I love note cards. Anyway, a coping mechanism is any conscious or non-conscious adjustment or adaptation in stressful times. In simpler terms, a coping mechanism really is just a way that you deal with stress or a stressful event. Now, stress has many faces. Stress is not always you have a paper due in 2 hours or in 2 days and you haven't done it. Stress is not always that you have a big project for work and it's really got to be done and you got this huge report or whatever. Stress has so many different faces. There are financial stressors, emotional stressors. Stress has so many different faces. So when you deal with coping mechanisms, we have to be aware that there are many different coping mechanisms. Some are positive and some are not so positive, and some are just downright negative. Some coping mechanisms are not the best for our health, mentally or physically, and even spiritually. And then there's other coping mechanisms that don't fit the need for that particular situation. So as I mentioned earlier, I am not a mental health service provider, and I cannot give you advice from the standpoint of a mental health service professional. However, I will say to you that in finding your coping mechanism, the best thing to do is figure out your strategy that's going to help you deal directly with whatever it is that's going on in your life to cause that stress. For example, if you know that you have a huge project coming up, whether it's for work or for school or anything in between, and you really want to get it done and make sure that it's perfect, or at least your level of perfect, you want to make sure that you find a way that you can do that. What is that going to look like for you? Are you a planner? Are you someone that needs to know every single step and who's going to do what and when it's going to be done? Or are you like me and you're more laid back? You'll get to it when you get to it, and you've got that extra confidence that's just going to help you to get through it and not deal with that extra stress. Find your strategy and make whatever it is that you choose tailored to you. Personally, I am not the type of person that likes harsh deadlines or has to be at a certain place at a certain time. Things like that stress me out. I do not like deadlines, and I just really can't stand it. So for me, my coping mechanism to deal with deadlines, because let's face it, life has deadlines and you're gonna have to be places at a certain time and get things accomplished, right? So what I do to deal with deadlines and trying to be places on time, I set an alarm to remind me that, this event is coming up, and I give myself plenty of extra time. I give myself extra time to leave because I know myself. I know that if I'm rushing out of the door, I'm gonna forget something, I'm gonna have to turn back around, I'm probably gonna spill something on myself and have to go change clothes. So I give myself extra time. I factor in if I need to be somewhere at 10 a.m. I know exactly what time I need to wake up, what time I need to leave home, how long it's gonna take me to drive there, and then how much time I have to sit in my car and listen to music before I go into any other place. But that's just how I deal with things. I don't like deadlines, so I plan it out to where I have extra time. That might work for you and it might not. Now, if you're dealing with something a little bit more serious than being on time for an event, such as maybe you and a friend are having a terrible argument and you've been friends with this person for your entire life almost, or since like third grade, and you're not really sure how to handle that separation between the two of you, I recommend that you write down what you're feeling. I recommend writing down what you're feeling because it gives you a chance to look at it on paper and think about it. What does this mean to you? So if you're feeling sad, well, what does sadness mean to you? And what's something that can help you to get over that little hump that you're experiencing? Or if you're feeling angry, what does anger look like for you? And how do you deal with that? Think about those things and what each term means for you. And then also process, how would you normally deal with this situation? If you're like me, you're not gonna sit on something for a very long time if it bothers you. Personally, if I don't like something, I'm gonna tell you, hey, this is bugging me, this is why it's bugging me, let's figure it out. Now, a lot of people aren't like that, so write it down. I do that a lot with myself because I know that every single person is not gonna wanna deal with me saying, hey, I don't like this, let's deal with it. Some people are just not built that way, and you cannot make people mold to fit your need, but you can help you and them at the same time to understand where you're both coming from. So write things down. Try to get to understand someone from their point of view. As I said in the beginning, you have to meet people where they are so that you can be a better person and they can as well. If any of this helped you, please go ahead and let me know in the comments, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for many more videos. Thank you for watching.